January 8th, 2024, school board meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Board Clerk Maggie Smith, would you please call the roll?
Jennifer Deek,
Here.
Khadijah Islam,
Excused.
Chris Lau,
Here.
Lindsay Need,
She is in the back. She's here.
Maggie Smith here, Bridget Todd Robbins,
Here.
Barb Wench,
Here.
Crystal Lee.
Here.
All right, with 6 of the 7 board members present, I declare a quorum. I note that the agenda has been posted, distributed, and sent to the local media. With this in mind, are there any changes to this agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
So moved.
Chris has moved.
Second.
That was Maggie. Maggie has seconded to approve the agenda as published. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The motion to approve the published agenda has passed. All right, and we do not have any public participation this evening. So moving on to recognition and thank yous, Dr. Mueller.
Yeah, I have actually 3 recognitions, and they're all having to do with just organizations really helping us out in donations that they've made to the district financially, which we're so thankful for. So DBS Group gave a donation to our elementary schools to help with, we did a food drive, and as they each collected 250 items, they were able to get money within their accounts to help our students with needs, field trips, and so on. So we thank DBS for that. Ashley, for the arts, they always, we have many groups that go and volunteer hours during their event each summer, and $20,350 were donated to organizations in within the district in Holmen area. So we're very thankful for that. And then Bernie Buckner, Mechanical, we work with them within the district quite often right now until all our buildings are remodeled, and they donated $2,500 in festival and fuel gift cards. So we're just so thankful for how these groups that we work with and partner with are willing to really help with the needs of our students. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to reports and discussion. Item 8.1, Dr. Mueller, along with DEI Committee and Board members Barb Wench and Bridget Todd Robbins, will now present the DEI commitment statement recommended by the committee. This item will appear on the January 22nd consent agenda.
Okay, good evening. So I just wanted to, tonight's kind of a very exciting night. I feel like it's one of these items that we've been working on for a long time within the district. This goes back in actually in 2020, the district brought key stakeholder groups together to, they represented the community, parents, staff, students, and school board and through conversations, surveys, and so on, to develop our district mission, vision, and core values. And from that, our mission became preparing students for tomorrow through an engaging and inclusive educational community today. And as part of that ongoing work of our mission, and one of the core values was equity. So therefore, part of working towards the improvement of equity within the district, an optional survey was sent in the spring of 2023 to learn more about hate, bias, and harm in our schools. And it was provided to all of our students and staff to take if they so chose. And then what resulted as one action step from the results of that survey was the formation of a board committee to focus on the work around diversity, equity, inclusion. So I'm happy tonight to report that we have a diversity, equity, inclusion committee, board committee, that has met 4 times already this school year. It has representation of 18 stakeholders representing board members, administrators, community members, educators, students, and support staff. The initial work of this committee was to develop a commitment statement to guide the district. So the commitment statement is a public commitment in advancing our DEI values the district has already established, And so tonight, our two board members on the committee, Barb Wench, who is is the chair of the committee, and Bridget, who is on the committee, are going to share this commitment statement that has been worked on. So,
Thank you, Dr. Mueller. So yeah, Barb and I are going to go ahead and read this commitment statement. To act on our vision, belong, serve, succeed, the School District of Holmen is resolute in its commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We must actively build a culture of belonging while redressing structural harms, because all students, staff, and community members deserve to feel safe, valued, and respected. As a public school entity, we have a shared responsibility to affirm the whole student and prepare their minds and hearts to serve as global change makers for a better future. Leaning on our core values of empowerment, equity, excellence, integrity, and safety, we will commit to collaboration that fosters healing and wellness, inspires generative dialogue, promotes honest curriculum, grows shared understandings, facilitates mutual care, deepens relationships, and embraces the full richness and strength of our human differences.
We recognize the long-standing systemic barriers of the educational system manifest in Holmen and require openness, effort, and commitment to change. Therefore, our efforts will center marginalized populations, including people of color, the LGBTQ+ community, individuals with disabilities, and the socioeconomically disenfranchised. Whenever we fall short of this commitment, we will acknowledge harm and engage in reflective listening to guide us forward restoratively. As DEI efforts evolve, we will remain curious and courageous in ways that will always move us closer to joy and educational justice through our mission and vision.
so with that, I think it's really important to thank all of our committee members for all of their input and hard work. As you see, it took us quite a few, and Crystal is a student representative on there too, to come up with this. And so this is on the January 22nd board meeting agenda for approval from the board. So if you have any comments or input, you can definitely bring that forward. So,
Okay, thank you. Thank you both. All right, moving on to item 8.2. Director of Facility Services Chad Brandola present the Viking Elementary construction bids for approval on tonight's consent agenda.
Thank you very much. Happy 2024. And do you have the document up that you need to see already?
you're on the
Got
tabs.
it.
Oh, well, you can put it on there. It'd be nice to.
There you go.
Is it
Probably.
open? No, one to the
There we
left.
go.
There you go.
Nope. There we go.
Tissue paper?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. All right. Okay, so I would like to share with you the low bids received for the Viking renovation as part of the 2022 referendum. 13 scopes of work, plus the HVAC testing and balancing, along with one alternate bid. 7 low bids came in from companies that were already doing the same type of work at the middle school, which is good for us. They'll have crews on site at the middle school at 502 Main Street, and then we'll have them right over at Viking, so that's going to work out really good for those companies. Those companies are Olympic Builders, Weiser Brothers, PCI, Swanson Flooring, Cooley Region Mechanical, Bernie Buckner, and Swanson Flooring. The 6 new companies that had low bids for the other scopes of work were Swickert, One Call Construction and Glass, Midwest Tile Works, The Fire Group, Winona Controls, and B&B Electric. Midwest Fluid Balance was a low bid for the HVAC testing and balancing, and Olympic Builders was the low bid for the alternate bid, which that was the paving area on the back of Viking. They're going to kind of widen that on the backside so that we can go around the back and get to the dumpster area and get a little turnaround area back there, in case you weren't familiar with that. The combined total for the bids was $10,441,989. And for us, we are under budget by $892,689 on this project. So another happy 2024. And if there's no questions, I just would thank you for your time, but I'm here for questions if you have any.
Any questions? Did you say that some of the contractors for the middle school and Viking were the same for similar work?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I probably went too fast. So 7 of the bids came in, as far as the low bids. 7 of those for Viking are the same companies that are at the middle school,
That's great.
which is nice, being 2 of them have quite a big load on their table. So it's nice to have the general construction company and the site civil work. That's both going to be Olympic and Weiser Brothers. One other note that I forgot to mention, we're very excited about this inside the maintenance shop at least, is on the electrical side with the low bid from B&B Electric, we were still also able to get the same lighting system that we're going to have in the middle school. So we're going to have a little over 300,000 square foot of facilities within the district that have the same lighting system. It's LED, it's programmable. It seems like it's not a lot, but when you can get your bench stock down to a few same items, you get people trained on those items, and they can cover 300,000 square feet. It's a pretty good deal for the maintenance shop. So we're very excited and very fortunate that happened.
Yep, I like the consistency too. so.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. Moving on to item 8.3, I now invite Executive Director of Student Services Jill Mason to present the 24-25 anticipated spaces for open enrollment. This item will appear on the January 22nd consent agenda.
Good evening. So every January, I come to you to present our enrollment numbers and then to look forward to the next year if we have to cap any of our classes. And then also we have to discuss special education services or programs during that time to determine if we need caps on any of those. So when you look at the table here, we really try to keep all of our, especially our elementary, middle, and high school general enrollment open because as we've seen in the last couple of years, we've had declining enrollment. So we want to make sure we're encouraging families to come and open enroll into our school district. And so when you see on the far right-hand side anticipated slots open, we have just left them all open because, again, we're encouraging families to open enroll into our facility. When we look at this, we want to make sure to acknowledge that current students, so sometimes we have students who are currently here as residents and they move, let's say, to Onalaska and they want to remain here. Those students would be priority for open enrollment. If we have more if we have siblings that are not attending right now, they would go into our random selection. So current students will have a guaranteed access to open enrollment, and any siblings would then be put in our random process that we go through, but they would have priority within that process. So I just want to make sure we have to determine that at the board level, guaranteed versus not guaranteed, and our board policy states how that process works. So that's for the general open enrollment. And so like I said, we have those open right now. When you look at the sections, so let's see. Anticipated number of sections for 24-25, you see that is less than what we currently have. One of the things to consider when you're looking at that, it doesn't mean we can reduce that many sections or that many teachers. That means that we still look at our class size policy. And so sometimes we have more students in one school and less students in another in certain grades. So we may have to have more teachers because we have 4 elementary schools and our boundaries are as such that they are. Sometimes those sections do look different. So I'm not sure that we would be reducing by that much just because we have to look at the class size policy. All right, so then we'll go down into the special education section. So this is speech and language. And as most of you know, presenting over the years, our speech and language numbers are significantly higher than the staffing that we have. This year is higher than any of the years in the 8 years I've been here. And so our ratios are significantly higher than what we would want. So we are capping speech and language. So that means anyone who's open enrolling that has an IEP requiring speech and language services, we would be denying because we don't have the space. Then when we look at occupational therapy and physical therapy, it's very similar. The physical therapist that we have is not full-time. And so we just want to make sure that 30 per physical therapy, that's the recommended, or the old recommended from DPI, but she is not full-time, so that does, again, decrease a little bit. So again, we're still over, so those would be capped. Then when we look at caseloads across all of our elementary schools, all of our middle school and our high school and our transition programs, this is what we have. Evergreen and Sand Lake still have a few spaces open. Sometimes I keep those open, but I wanted to make sure that those spaces are numbered because we do have open enrollments that come in and we do have limited amount of spaces there. I want to make sure to indicate that as our service, our needs have increased. So we want to make sure we're cautious about that. And then high school, Project Live is already at capacity if we have the students currently that are planning. Project Bridge has one space and Project Search would have a couple of spaces. Those are hard to tell. We have 12 spaces for our partnership with Gunderson. And sometimes we don't know that until March. So we just keep that relatively open for other school districts. And then early childhood, last year we capped early childhood special education services. Our referrals are through the roof right now. We added a teacher this year and as you can see, we're 6 away from being capped again, and that's with 4 teachers. So our referrals, again, have not stopped from birth to 3 services and local services. Again, a lot of speech and language and autism referrals are coming through there as well. That was really fast. So again, just to cover special education, we're capping speech and language, OT, PT. We'll also be I don't really have to state this, but any IEP that comes with a one-on-one educational assistant, we already don't have that, so we'd have to hire that. So that would be denied. And then I have in here as well, IEPs that are requiring crisis management or students that need CPI training, which is our training that we use when students have significantly escalated behaviors. Those will also be denied. We have a really hard time right now with capacity with our students that are residents. We would not be able to take on students that are open enrolled. Questions about any of that?
Well, I guess I'm just curious with special ed.
Yeah.
Are there situations where you have special ed students that don't have speech language OTPT? Okay.
Yeah. Many of our students have a learning disability that don't involve any of those services. And so those IEPs that come through and request for open enrollment are usually granted. Okay. The 2 that we would think about are Sand Lake and Evergreen that have limited spaces. Not so much in early childhood though.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Joe. All right, moving on to item 8.4. Executive Director of Instructional Services Kim Edwards will now present the annual Educational Options 2015 Wisconsin Act 55 Notice Reminder. This item will appear on the January 22nd consent agenda.
So it's perfect that I'm following Jill because I have another every January for you. So as required by statute, every year we need to post a Class 1 notice that describes all the educational options that are available to students and families residing in the School District of Holmen, as well as our accountability report. So you'll see those all outlined here. We have our regular programs on campus. We already also have our early college credit program, Start College Now, our AP dual and transcriptive programs that we've recently done some reporting on. We also have some tutorial programs, independent study classes, online courses. We also have work study, our summer school program, youth apprenticeship programs. We also have the option for full-time and part-time open enrollment programs, and then, of course, homeschool is an option as well. And then below there, we have our accountability report, which I went into much more depth in, I guess, about 2 months ago. All of this will be, if approved, posted in the Tribune on the 23rd. Any questions about this?
Any questions?
What option is in place for students who would be like credit deficient come their junior, senior year?
A lot of that is taken care of in summer school. We
Okay.
do some online with that as well, and work really closely with student services to build plans for individual students at work.
I don't know if are you asking more about like diploma options? Like
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
we have several different options.
okay,
yeah.
okay.
There are, how many different diploma options do we have now? 5? Maybe 5.
Because we don't have a contract with like Western, correct? Do we have our own like HSED type program here?
We do.
Okay.
GED option 2. When students,
Jill, can you come up and speak in up here? Thank you.
We should have just tag teamed this one from the get-go.
Yeah. Thank you. She's going to say that much.
Here.
when students work through the GED, I'm good.
You can actually sit if you.
When students work through the GED Option 2 program, they work through, most of the time they work through a lot of coursework that we require, but then are able to take up to 4 tests to test out of a certain content area. Many of our students don't take all 4. Some of them will take 1 or 2, but they do take those down at Western. So we take our students, most of our students or some of our students at our ACE Academy at BGC are working towards that type of diploma. Otherwise, we have the basic skills diploma, which is a 19 and a half credit. So we work through that as well. And students can do that at our high school or at ACE Academy.
So those just don't have to be listed in this
Correct.
particular document. Okay.
Yep, and then we have 2 other options as well for, mostly for our students with disabilities, a certificate of attendance and then a vocational diploma too that are aligned.
Awesome.
But
Thank
we're,
you.
as part of the DEI work, Mr. Sackett and his team are looking to change basic skills diploma to something different. So we're excited about that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Kim, we're sticking with you here. So,
Next up, we have for your consideration a memorandum of understanding with a new university who would like to place clinical and field experience and student teachers with us. This is actually Western Governors University, one that we have not worked with before, probably because it's in Salt Lake City. But they do have a student who would like to do a placement with us. And so if approved, this would be an MOU. In effect, it reads much like the very many others that we have, but it would be in effect after your approval for 3 years, but we could terminate that with just 30 days notice, so. Any questions on this one?
so students just, where were you gonna go?
I was just gonna ask, like, was there any explanation or like?
I believe it's online, and so we have a local individual who has taken the required classes and would like to do their placement here.
And then like, as I was reading it, I thought I read like it was a regionally accredited university. Is that different than like the normal contracts?
It depends. Each state has their own requirements. So when they go through to get their DPI license, that might look a little differently than if they were certified in the state of Wisconsin.
Sure.
Yep. But it's on the individual who does that to work through that process with DPI.
Gotcha.
This would just fulfill their requirements for student teaching or clinical.
So I was just gonna say, so typically with student, when it comes to student teaching, the student gets to suggest or
It
make a
kind of
recommendation
depends on
where
the
they wanna be?
university is what I found, but I think, with so many more online options too, I would anticipate more of these.
Okay.
Okay.
How do you determine the mentor teacher?
A lot of that is worked out individually at the buildings. So a lot of times we'll get an email or a phone call saying we're looking for a placement roughly in this grade span. Do you have any teachers who would be willing? These are the requirements that we're looking for in this placement. And it's usually worked out at the building level. Anything else?
All right, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 8.6. Holmen High School Activity Director Jason Luloff will present the WIAA co-curricular renewal agreement for the Girls Hockey Cooperative. This item will appear on the January 22nd consent agenda.
Hello. Every 2 years, we have to renew our co-ops. So this is kind of a standard procedure ask. Our girls hockey co-op is up this year in April. So trying to be a little proactive in getting your blessing to rejoin our co-op. The same co-op is in place for 25, 26 with one minor adjustment. Onalaska was the host school. West Salem is going to take over the host. Primary reason there, a number of athletes and the Panther Den, which is the ice arena in West Salem. So for those two reasons, those two schools have agreed to flip-flop positions as host school. Other than that, the co-op is between Holmen, West Salem, Onalaska, La Crosse Logan, La Crosse Central, La Crosse Aquinas, GET, and Bangor. Any questions?
Any questions? No. No questions.
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. For the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background materials on each item or has discussed it at a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. Would any board member like to pull an item out of the consent agenda to be discussed and/or voted on separately? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as provided.
So moved.
Motion by Chris,
Second.
second by Barb. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion passes. All right, moving on to the board debrief. I will call upon board members and ask you to present any comments or committee reports you have. So tonight, we will start with Chris.
We do not have a policy meeting scheduled as of right now. And then I guess the only thing I would say is, and we'll mention it later, I'm sure everybody will be, we'll be going to the state school board convention. I believe all of us will be next week, late next week. So it's my third time going. It's a great honor, and I'm very privileged by the district to be able to have attended it. It's a lot of good content for those who haven't gone, a lot of good interactions with other districts, other board members, a lot of really good content, good speakers. So for those of you who haven't gone yet, it'll be exciting to go down there. For those of you who have gone before, you know what it's like. It's a pretty good time for us to learn and collaborate together. So looking forward to that. And again, thanks to the people, the district for allowing us to attend. It's a great opportunity to learn and grow as board members.
All right, thanks, Chris. Lindsay?
I'm looking forward to going as well. Other than that, no policy updates, so nothing further for me.
Okay, Maggie?
Also have no committee updates, and I know this was a little while ago. I think that it went out on social media, but it's been a while since we had a board meeting. I just wanted to mention Roger King, who received the National Lifetime Achievement Award by the National Association of Agricultural Educators. So I caught that and just wanted to thank him for his service to the district and the work that he's put in the years to be here.
All right, thanks, Maggie. Bridget?
I'll let Barb kind of talk about the DEI committee, but just wanted to say it's just an honor to be part of that, and to be part of reading the commitment statement tonight. So just really proud of this district, especially today.
Okay, Barb?
So the DEI committee met tonight. We are now working towards, I guess, narrowing our short and long-term goals that we will be bringing forth to further our strategic plan in the coming months.
Okay. Thank you, and Crystal?
Going on with DEI committee and everything, I do want to say it's an honor to be part of it. giving like student perspective, minority perspective, and just listening to what everybody else has to say and bring to the table was just like something I really appreciate. And the fact that we're aiming to do something for the community and for the better is just something I just enjoy about DEI. Going to clubs and organizations, so kind of moving it on to another thing. So when it comes to organizations, I want to say thank you to Triumph Honor Society as they are at work. They are doing lots of things, getting involved with the community musically or just doing some things like making cards for the assisted living. It's a wonderful thing to see them getting involved and doing things. So quick shout out to advisors, Michelle Jensen, Andrew Jones, Chance Morrison, and Sarah Bieneman for approving and guiding our officers. And shout out to the officers, Brielle Smaling, Danielle Ott, Paula Barlow, and Abigail Holdy for working hard on searching and creating more opportunities for our members. Moving on, I would also like to talk about HSO. So HSO, they're busy. This month is a special month for them as they're hosting their annual egg roll fundraiser and such, and they just want to let everybody know you don't want to miss out on it. It's a great way to get involved with a minority group at the high school and support for a good cause. I also want to bring up Yearbook. Yearbook is working at its hardest as they're coming up with a theme. This crazy theme of 23-24. So they're actually looking out to reach out to sponsors and such, and they're working harder and harder every day as I also witness and experiencing it too. So good job to those students. That is a wrap on my words. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Crystal. Okay, I also want to thank the DEI committee for all their hard work. I'm very proud of the fact that we now have this statement that we put out tonight, and then that with our continued work for the remainder of the year on a long-range plan. I know it's been a month since we've had a meeting, but I just wanted to go all the way back to the Mistletoe Market and just say that thank you for being there because you helped us finish with all our last-minute shopping for the holidays. We were able to we bought several things from there, and we enjoyed visiting and buying from the market. And lastly, I too am looking forward to the convention next week and being able to connect with other districts and staying current with events in education and best practices, and just spending time with fellow board members and getting to know them better. So it's going to be a good time, and I look forward to it. Moving on to item 10.3, the board's been provided with notes from the November 13th, 2023 DEI committee meeting. Please take a look at those. Moving on to item 10.4, it's the verification of candidacy and ballot order. So the candidate deadline for filing all documents needed to establish eligibility to appear on the April 2nd, 2024 ballot expired on January 2nd at 5 p.m. The candidates that will appear on the ballot in alphabetical order are Jennifer Deek, Mike Durnan, and Chris Lau. Next, Clerk Maggie Smith will draw names at random to determine the order candidates will appear on the ballot.
All right. So the first candidate will be Chris Lau. Second candidate will be Mike Durnan. Did I get that right? And the final candidate would be Jennifer Deek.
Okay, thank you, Maggie. All right, moving on to item 10.5. Board members have been provided with proposed resolutions that will be discussed at the 2024 WASB delegate meeting. Bridget's our delegate representative. If you haven't gotten your comments to her, if you have any, please get them to her as soon as possible so she kind of knows everyone's thoughts on the board before she goes in there. Our upcoming board meeting schedule, next week, January 17th through the 19th, the entire board will be attending the 2024 State Education Convention in Milwaukee. Then on January 22nd, we have a Wellness Committee meeting at 3:30 p.m., followed by a board workshop at 5:30 p.m., followed by a board meeting at 7 p.m. Then on February 2nd, we will have another board workshop at 5 p.m., and then February 12th, we have a DEI committee meeting at 5 p.m., followed by a board meeting at 7 p.m. right, is there any other business that needs to come before the board at this time? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Chris has moved.
Second.
Is that Bridget? Bridget has second. To adjourn the meeting at 7:34 PM. Motion carried. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes.
All righty. Wow, that was fast.